Twilight, for better or for worse, has legions of adoring fans, and part of that devotion is sparked by the characters themselves. While Bella isn't widely loved, facing criticism from even the most stalwart of twihards, other characters in the saga have become fan favorites. Some characters, such as Swan, have managed to earn affection from those who aren't fans, earning the moniker Mustache Dad. Yes, I too love Mustache Dad, and I have a video all about him. When it comes to the characters, many have also compared Jacob and Edward specifically, bringing the terms Team Jacob and Team Edward firmly into the English language, again for better or worse. Some have coined the term Team Bella, and others are Team Alice. Of course, Twilight would be nothing without the vampire family at the heart of it, the Cullens. Self-proclaimed vegetarians, they live differently from other vampires. While typical bloodsuckers are nomadic, living off the blood of humans, the Cullens live as people do in homes, only leaving when their lack of aging could draw attention. Moreover, they never kill humans, but instead subsist on animal blood, their eyes becoming yellow as a result. The family is rife with tragic backstories and strong personalities, and each member manages to shine in their own way. Not all of the Cullens are likable, but most of them are interesting, and you can probably already guess who my favorites are going to be, as I rank the Cullens from worst to best. Or can you? Opinions can be strong, but I have my own reasons for liking who I do. Before we continue, I'm Riley and this is Otherworldly Fiction. On this channel, I rant about fantasy books, discuss characters and lore, share my bookish opinion, and offer the occasional writing advice. If any of that sounds like your cup of mountain lion blood, hit that subscribe button. Main posts are on Fridays. Without further ado, here is my personal ranking of the Cullen family, as it exists by the end of the story. Going from worst to best, here is how the Cullens stack up for me. Number 1. Bella Swan. To be perfectly honest, I don't hate Bella. She can on occasion be funny. I found her relatable as a kid, and she does have a personality. If, like me, you have the time to obsessively analyze such things. However, of all the characters within the Cullen clan, she feels the least fleshed out, which becomes more glaring when you take into account that she's the protagonist. As the hero of the story, Bella should have been leaking personality. Even if she wasn't everyone's favorite character, she should have been a favorite character. As such, I can understand the criticisms leveled towards her character. Compared to those like Alice or Edward, her lack of development becomes even clearer. In previous videos, I've discussed Bella's character. I've defended her, explaining why she still worked on some levels. I've critiqued her, detailing why others didn't like her. And I've made a list of how, based on the attributes she already possessed, Meyer could have strengthened her character. Noting her backstory and mental health issues, I describe how Bella had a personality, but one which needed to be drawn out. If you want more analysis on Bella, you can watch those videos in my Twilight playlist. For the purposes of this video, I'll say that I don't hate her, but that she's a comparatively weak character when stacked against the rest. Number 2. Renee. Renee is low on this list for one reason. And no, it's not the imprinting plotline. I'm not going to blame a child for circumstances beyond her control. The fact is, I just don't know her personality yet. Should Meyer write a sequel series starring Renee, this could be subject to change, but as it stands, the books show little of who she is as a person. This is understandable, given she's only a kid, and it makes sense for her to be removed from the action. As far as her development and abilities go, she's interesting enough. Her ability to project images of her thoughts into the minds of others is intriguing, and I'd love to see how she could develop her talent. Could she plant a lie in someone's mind, such as a false image, and fool the likes of even the Volturi? There's some potential there. Then there's her unique biology, which presents its own set of questions. The big one, of course, is whether or not she can have children. Based on the speculation made by characters within the book on imprinting itself, I'm inclined to think she can. With that in mind, one can only wonder what kind of child would result from a vampire hybrid and a shapeshifter. I'd love to see Nessie's character developed further, and any sequels would touch on some new world building too, as far as her powers and DNA are concerned. But for now, her personality is a mystery. Does she like poetry? Is she fond of cinnamon rolls or bear blood? Again, we just don't know. The most we know is that she's fussy with animal blood, and preternaturally smart. But her persona barely extends beyond this. Number 3. Rosalie. Rosalie isn't the most likable of the Cullens, hence the lower rating. And in the beginning, she can come across as the stereotypical mean blonde. However, as the reader gets to know her, her attitude towards Bella makes sense. Seeing Bella throw away everything she ever wanted, she is understandably bitter. Rosalie eventually reveals to Bella that she envies her. Bella is shocked by this, but Rosalie explains her grief over the loss of her humanity, as well as the deeper desire below her more shallow aspirations, which was taken from her. Frozen as a vampire, she can never look forward to anything new. Gone are the milestones which sustained her as a human. There's no home to save up for, no children to watch grow, and no grandchildren to meet. There's nothing new or novel to experience beyond Emmett, and therein lies the motivation behind Rosalie's poor attitude. Rosalie's backstory is one of the more dramatic out of all the Cullens, and one of the most tragic. Unlike the others, Rosalie's life was going perfectly, making her sudden removal from it all the worse. While it was unfortunate what she had to endure, the fact she sought revenge on her attackers was both terrifying and satisfying. Plus, Rosalie has more dimension than Bella in that she has other hobbies. You wouldn't expect it, but Rosalie is fond of cars, and she can even be found working on them. Whatever her appearance suggests, she doesn't seem afraid to get her hands dirty, though she might glare at you if you throw food in her hair. Ultimately, she's an imperfect character, but that makes her more realistic, and her actions, however mistaken, make sense, based on what is known of her character. Moreover, Rosalie finds some solace in the end when Bella chooses to keep Renee, because Bella finally makes a choice Rosalie agrees with. With Renee to care for, Rosalie has the chance to raise a child and look forward to new milestones. What's more, if Renee can have children, Rosalie may even have the pleasure of helping to raise and be involved with potential grandchildren. Just as a quick aside, be sure to give this video a like if you're enjoying it. Number 4. Esme. I want to give Esme a higher rating, but her character doesn't always jump out as much as I would have liked. I do like her, but I feel like the books don't show enough of her. Her backstory is as tragic as Rosalie's in its own way, and hers was one of the origins which stuck with me. In the films, her backstory isn't even mentioned. In the books, it's noted that she attempted suicide after losing her newborn son. Those who have read her complete history will know she faced hardship even before this, and from her own human family no less. But those who are curious can watch my video on her backstory. Suffice it to say that she could have been given more page time. Not every character has to be outgoing and flashy, and her role as the family's own mother hen is well established. But she could have spent more time with Bella. After all, even quiet characters can talk. She could have sat with Bella, as Carlisle did, not only to share her backstory, but to offer her own insights into Bella's relationship with Edward. Given the lack of stability from her own mother, it would have been interesting to see Bella find a steady mother figure in Esme. It it would have been neat to see Bella go to Esme for advice when Edward was being stubborn about something. After all, Esme is going to be her mother for eternity, so there should have been more time spent between them. Number 5. Edward. I find Edward a fleshed out character, to be sure, but I can never call him one of my favorites. Overthinking everything, acquiring several diplomas, and listening to a variety of music, Edward could never be accused of being dull, though his comparative knowledge and number of interests makes it less realistic that he'd be drawn to a teenager with no ambitions and few interests. Like Rosalie and Esme, Edward's backstory is tragic, though most of his human life was as good as anybody's. He never lacked the education, and his passion for music, and the piano in particular, carried over from his human years. As a vampire, he'd go on to attain numerous college diplomas, including one in the medical field, and he'd amass a great collection of music. Indeed, I never hated his character. But was he necessarily the best for Bella? The pair lacked common interests, though Midnight Sun made a point of digging deeper into their discussions. And with Bella's appreciation for music and classic literature, this could have been rectified. I might be biased, given I've always been firmly Team Jacob, but Edward, interesting as he is still eclipsed by other characters. As a Byronic warrior, he wasn't boring, but he gave Maya herself anxiety, and he can't be ranked as the best of the Cullens. Number 6. Emmett Cullen. Coming into my favorite characters, we have Emmett. Emmett could have been higher on the list, but he has the opposite problem from Esme. While his personality shines through, his backstory isn't as dramatic. That said, it didn't need to be. Realistically, not every character would have this fascinating life story, though the moment he was saved by Rosalie and carried as a bleeding human for several miles is dramatic enough. Emmett is one of those characters who's just likable. His banter, along with his awkward jokes, always make me smile, and he maintains a level of optimism that's refreshing for his kind. When you have moody types like Edward and Rosalie lurking around, those like Emmett provide balance. Continually lightening the mood and offering comedic relief, Emmett was a must for his family. His playful manner also brings out Edward's lighter side, providing his glum brother with a reprieve. Sometimes he can go too far, but thankfully there are those who can put him in his place when he does. In some instances, his character could have been given more depth. While he's super likable on the surface, Emmett's character doesn't offer much mystery. While it's his way to wear his thoughts out on his sleeve, more time could have been spent showing Bella getting to know him. There isn't much mention of Emmett's hobbies, even in the Twilight Illustrated Guide. Unlike the others, he was never an academic or a high achiever, which is valid, but he could have had other interests, such as hiking, swimming, exploring, or, well, breaking things. I'd have liked to see more backstory from him, as well as some insight into what he does with his free time, and so he's not at the very top of the list. There is some mention made of him watching a sports game, so hearing who his favorite teams or players were would have been enough. He could have complained about a trade or fondly remembered a game from 50 years ago. Seeing him remember a great touchdown from 1955 could have been funny. Number 7. Jasper. Unlike the other Cullens, Jasper wasn't changed by Carlisle. Instead, he lived his own vampire life before despair drove him to seek out something different. With Alice as his guide, he was adopted by the Cullens when already a vampire, making him one of the more independent members of the family. On occasion, Jasper and Alice will go off on their own, though they always return with time. Of all the Cullens, Jasper can be the most intimidating. Coming from a military background, he knows how to be imposing. Bella even worries for the health of J. Jinx, wondering what Jasper actually did to the poor man to frighten him so much. And with her vampire eyes, Bella can see firsthand the number of battle scars which mar Jasper's marble skin. Changed by Maria and used as a weapon in a series of unending and bloodthirsty newborn wars, Jasper became disillusioned. His abilities, while useful, caused him depression because he suffered through the emotions of those he was tasked with killing. However, even on his own he suffered, because he could feel the emotions of his human victims too. For Jasper, his seemed a hopeless lot, a life where he'd be doomed forever to kill others and feel their fear as he did so. Thankfully for the former military leader, he found a reprieve in the form of Alice, who led him directly into a new life. Dragging him to a new family, she gave him an alternative to the lifestyle which was making him miserable. When Bella meets Jasper, he's still struggling to be near humans. A diet of animal blood is still relatively new to him, making him, at first, seem reserved and in pain. However, as Bella spends more time with the family, he adjusts to her presence, the mishap and new moon notwithstanding. In Eclipse, Jasper, like Rosalie, pauses to have a conversation with Bella, giving her his backstory, as well as a glimpse into the wired world of vampires. Moreover, his backstory has a direct bearing on the plot, making it more relevant than ever, given the parallel between Jasper's situation and that of Riley. Finally, beneath his tough exterior, Jasper has a heart of gold. He dotes on Alice, and in the first book he actually made me tear up when he turned to Bella and told her she was worth saving. All in all, he's become a good guy, despite his checkered past. Number 8. Carlisle Cullen. Carlisle is an example of a quieter character done well. His backstory is one of the more developed, and he actually shares it directly with Bella in the books, giving him more depth for those who have read the novels. He's also one of the older vampires Bella comes across. Vamps from medieval eras are always intriguing, because they will always have a differing perspective from someone who was changed later. Creating the philosophy of valuing human life by consuming animal blood, Carlisle is the founder of the Cullens and their beliefs. Without Carlisle, there wouldn't be a Cullen family. With the exception of Alice and Jasper, all of the others would have died from their various afflictions. Moreover, even had they been found by other vampires, they likely would have gone on to hunt humans. Only Jasper might have become a vegetarian on his own, unless the others had been taken in by the Denali's instead. The vampire doctor is at the heart of the family, offering continual advice, making decisions, and looking after those in his charge. He provides everything to his adopted children, and his actual belief system is one of the more notable aspects of his character. Essentially, Carlisle, unlike most vampires, values human life. He sees people as people, rather than as food, and he takes an interest in helping them. Becoming a doctor of all things, he endures the sight and smell of human blood on a regular basis, to the point where he barely notices it anymore. Such a journey of resisting blood for years on end is incredible in itself. The fact that Carlisle was born in a suspicious age, though, also shapes his character, as he was born the son of a priest. As such, he always had a more religious outlook on life. Believing himself to be damned, he made a point of helping humans in order to atone for what he was. Unlike Edward, Rosalie, or Emmett, he also never tasted human blood. Not once did he break from his vows, either intentionally or accidentally. The idea of a vampire doctor in itself is a fun idea, and Carlisle's history, along with his approach to life, makes him a character that's easy to love. Number 9. Alice. The fact that Alice is my favorite character shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. On the surface, she's the most likable. She's spirited, exuberant, and, like Emmett, optimistic for a vampire. Nothing seems to bring Alice down, and she's not afraid to argue with Edward when he's being a mood killer. In fact, Edward's stubbornness exasperates Alice, because she's stubborn too, and seeing them challenge each other is always a treat. Other surface level details I love about Alice include her ability to predict the stock market, and the chess games she has with Edward, as no one else could play against either of them. The fact that most of these games happen in the heads of the players makes it doubly amusing. However, beyond her spunky persona, Alice has everything else a character could need too. A myriad of interests, a complex backstory, and flaws. Much as I love Carlisle, he can seem too perfect at times, and Edward can be a grouch. Alice, though, is a better character because of her foibles. While she's cheerful and determined, she's also bossy and stubborn. Alice is the kind of person who's used to getting her way, and anyone would be a fool to bet against her. Even Edward, uncompromising as he can be, is forced to cave into Alice. All that said, her flaws make her a stronger character, one who is imperfect but easy to love. Her backstory is also one of the most exciting, as, unlike the others, Alice has no memory of her human life. Existence as a vampire is all she knows, and so she has no comparison point. Unable to grasp what she lost, she retains a happy disposition. Moreover, her origins, like Jasper's, are relevant to the plot, because James chose her for his victim before later selecting Bella. In fact, James was the reason Alice had to become a vampire. Seeing no other way to save her, and knowing he'd have to sacrifice himself to buy her time, her creator bit Alice before rushing off to fight, and die at the hands of the Tracker. Alice learns her backstory at the same time the reader does, and to this day, readers are drawn to her story. Even those who dislike the series overall find Alice's story fascinating, as well as Alice herself, having been shut away in an asylum for the abilities she exhibited even while human. Alice's history becomes even more layered when one reads her whole backstory. A short film has been done on Alice's time in the asylum, but if there's one character I'd love to see a standalone prequel for, or a full-length film, it's Alice. I haven't even covered her powers yet, though her ability to see the future is easily the coolest gift anyone has, because she stands on her own as a developed character. With a great backstory, several interests, and a strong personality, Alice, in my opinion, is easily the best character in the series, and I'd have loved to see a book, or several, which followed her life. The Cullen clan as a whole make for an interesting bunch, and all of the disparate personalities play off of one another. While Rosalie and Edward are prone to sulking, Alice and Emmett lighten the mood. Carlisle and Esme hold the family together, and Bella, in bringing Renesmee into the world, offers the family a chance at growth, progress, and change, as the youngest Cullen offers to them an opportunity to grow their family in a natural way. All of the characters have their strengths and weaknesses, and for my own reasons, I have ranked them accordingly. From worst to best, this has been my ranking of the Cullen clan. Bella, though I don't hate her, is the weakest character, while Alice sits proudly at number 1. Should Renesmee be given a sequel, I'd be interested to see what her new rank would be. I'd also love to see further exploration of my number 1 girl. Alice has one of the most fascinating backstories, not only within the Twilight Saga, but within the YA genre. Though Alice can't remember her human life, Meyer nevertheless allowed readers to get a glimpse into Alice's life, and in the video on the left, I go over Alice's backstory. However, despite her low ranking on this list, Bella had her benefits too, and in the video on the right, I list the reasons Bella's character worked. As always, thank you for watching, and happy reading!